Let's talk tariffs. And before you click away, rolling your eyes thinking, what does that have to do with me? Bear with me for just 1 minute. Tariffs directly impact housing prices, which in turn affects your cost of living, your ability to buy or sell a home, and even your estate plan. When tariffs raise the price of imported goods, construction costs go up, making homes more expensive to build, renovate, and maintain. That might sound like kind of a good thing if you already own a home as your property values rise, but it's a double-edged sword. Increasing home values benefits some people, mostly investors, while leaving first-time buyers and renters even further behind. And if you don't have an estate plan in place, raising property values means probate fees and tax burdens will cost your family tens of thousands of dollars. So if you own a home, plan to buy one, or expect to inherit one, stick around. We're breaking down how these rising costs impact your financial future and why estate planning is now more important than ever. Most people hear tariffs and think about global trade, wars, or politics. But for homeowners and buyers, the real impact is much closer to home. When the government slaps tariffs on imported goods, those extra costs don't just disappear, they get passed down to you, the consumer. In housing, it gets hit hard. The cost of materials like lumber, steel, and aluminum will rise with tariffs, which means everything from new construction to home renovations suddenly just costs a lot more. Think about the things that go into a home. Wood for framing, metal for plumbing, appliances, roofing materials, and even the nuts and bolts. When tariffs drive up the costs of these essential materials, developers and builders, they don't just absorb the costs, they pass them on in the form of higher home prices. Going further, even if you already own a home, you're not in the clear. The same price increases apply to repairs and renovations. Need a new roof? Get ready for some sticker shock. Remodeling your kitchen? You're going to feel that in your wallet. And because property values are rising alongside these costs, so are your property taxes. So while rising home values might sound great in theory, they do create a new problem. Who actually benefits from them? Well, it's no surprise that the biggest winners in all of this are real estate investors. When home values rise, investors can tap into their growing equity, purchase additional properties, or refinance to access more capital for future investments. They're playing an active game using the appreciation on one property to fuel the growth of another. On the other hand, the average homeowner isn't necessarily benefiting in the same way. If your primary residence is your biggest asset, that value might look nice on paper, but it doesn't do much for you unless you sell. And selling your home just to cash in on appreciation means turning around and buying a new home in the same inflated market, not to mention paying capital gains taxes. Not exactly a win in every scenario. Then there's the group hit the hardest, first-time buyers. For them, rising home prices, on top of already high interest rates, make home ownership feel even further out of reach. Higher costs means larger down payments, bigger mortgage payments, and a harder time breaking into the market at all, especially in places with high property values like California. So while established homeowners and investors might be navigating these waters with a little bit more ease, the long-term effect is an increasingly widening gap between those who own property and those who do not. And that brings us to the estate planning side of things. If home values are climbing, that means your real estate holdings are becoming more valuable. And as great as that sounds, it also means the cost of probate, the court process of transferring assets when someone passes away, is climbing right alongside it. In California, probate fees are directly tied to the value of the estate. The more your home is worth, the more probate is going to cost your family. $1 million home going through probate could easily rack up over $46,000 in court and attorney fees, and that's assuming no one's fighting over it. If your home is worth $2 million or more, then expect probate fees north of $66,000 easily. All right, so what's the solution? A properly structured trust. By holding your home in a trust, your heirs can completely avoid probate and sidestep those exorbitant fees. But of course, the financial benefits don't stop there. When your heirs inherit property, they also received a stepped-up tax basis. That means they won't owe capital gains taxes on the appreciation from when you bought the home, just on any future gains after they inherit it. Without an estate plan, they could miss out on tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax savings. I've gone into detail on how to build generational wealth through estate planning in a recent video, so if you want to know the strategies that the wealthy use and that you should be using too, then be sure to check that one out. Tariffs are making home ownership more expensive. Construction costs are rising, renovation costs are increasing, and the property values are climbing alongside them. And while some will benefit, primarily investors and those who already own multiple properties, the long-term effects means that owning a home is becoming more expensive, not just for the buyers, but for their heirs as well. If you own real estate, you need to make sure that when the time comes to pass it down, your heirs aren't stuck with unnecessary court fees and tax burdens. The simplest way to do that is, of course, having a solid living trust in place. So, what do you think? Have you noticed rising home costs in your area? Do you have a plan to protect your property and pass it down efficiently? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video with that person in your family who is either on the fence about a trust or who doesn't think tariffs will impact them. I'm attorney Andrew Bethel, and I'll see you at our next meeting.